Welcome back to Between Two Bushes. Hi, I'm your host, Dr. Stephanie Schull, the inventor of the Kegelbell. And this is part of a special series with a very special guest, and that is the Vagina Coach. Hi, Kim.
Hello, nice to see you.
Thank you for being with us. Today's episode, we're going to talk about pelvic floor training devices. And so I'm the inventor of the Kegelbell. But when people hear that, they often confuse it with things called Kegel balls, other kinds of vagina weights, yoni eggs, and Benoit balls. So I just wanted to briefly discuss, how it's different and talk with Kim about pelvic floor training devices that she's also familiar with. So Kim's writing a book. It'll be out in the next few months, I think. And she let me know that she mentions Kegelbell in the book, so thank you. So she's done research into all the different devices. And so basically, like vagina weights that are out there, like vaginal weights, they're mostly just going to be an interior piece. So I just wanted to briefly talk about how Kegelbell is different than yoni eggs or other vaginal weights like Benoit balls or Kegel balls that you might have heard of, because those devices are generally just this internal piece. And Kegelbell is different in that the weight is from this dynamic cord, and there's a graduated system of adding more weight. And so that's really significant for like the type of workout that you're getting, because it's almost like a Bosu ball where you get a lot of that stability from this. Even the tiniest movement, we had a Purdue engineer do the studies, even the tiniest movement helps, let alone some of those dynamic forces can really help your workout. But, it's also different in that this is FDA registered. This is made out of USP Class 6 silicone, and we have two sizes of inserts, a very small one and a slightly larger one. And the larger one, counterintuitively, is easier to use. And then from that, a woman may graduate to using the smaller one. So we've really improved upon and are very different from Kegel balls, yoni eggs, and Benoit balls in that we have a slender and comfortable insert made out of the highest grade materials with no doodads and seams and baubles to decorate it. So it's easy to clean. But the secret is in the dynamic forces and putting all of the weight outside the body. And then that allows a woman to graduate from 30 grams up over time. So those are just a few of the differences. There are others, and we can touch on them. But Kim, I was curious as to what you thought was different about Kegelbell.
Yours is the first one that, again, all the others had focused on just putting a weight inside, and yours was the first one that had something outside that not only was the weight outside, but the weight moves. And so the requirement of the pelvic floor is it has to respond to that movement, which to me is more functional training than just putting something inside and holding and squeezing it there. And the challenge with Kegel devices, whether it's balls or what have you, has been that if I go to the gym to do a bicep curl, I don't pick up the weight and then do this and then walk around the gym this way. So it's not
for hours.
So that's not functional training. Yes, I'm going to get some isometric contraction, and for a short period of time, maybe there's some benefit there. But again, we kind of want to explore that range of motion, but also we are training when we're in the gym. I think we need to consider, what are we training for? We're training for life, and we need our pelvic floor to respond to things like lifting something up, pushing a door open, standing up from a chair. We are dynamic beings that unfortunately we sit more than we should and compared to what we used to, but ultimately we are dynamic beings, and we need to respond to the forces that we experience in a day. And what I love about your product is it expanded on, okay, there can be some benefit to some people to, to hold something inside. But the fact that the weight was outside and there was that dynamic movement was really ingenious. And I think that it really kind of ups the game in terms of pelvic floor device training. I get asked about devices all the time. And people think that, again, if they have weakness if they are experiencing continence, if they are experiencing unsatisfying sex or prolapse, they think, well, my pelvic floor must be weak. And sometimes they may have overactivity, so tightness in the muscle, but tight doesn't equal strong. So their pursuit of tight is not necessarily, pardon me, the right angle to approach. So they go out thinking they need something to tighten, that they need something to make it stronger. They get a device and then they're holding it in, they're squeezing and squeezing and squeezing, and they're noticing their symptoms aren't improving. And sometimes maybe they're even worsening. So what I loved was the variability in the movement, but also in the instruction. It was not asking the person to put it in and hold it there for an extended period of time. It was asked to put it in and take the pelvic floor through the range of motion, relax. You can even remove it for a period of time, then put it back in. So I think that it was a much more functional approach to pelvic floor muscle training. So
thank you. Yeah, that was the key for me, was when I was studying like the existing pelvic floor vaginal weights, like the Kegelballs and the yoni eggs, they would say in the instructions, if they had instructions at all, because a lot of them were just, sex toys with no instructions. Here's a ball, put it in your vagina,
Yeah.
It was to wear them for hours.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? That's like you say, walking around like this, you're going to have such a cramped muscle.
Yeah.
So that was ill-conceived, and physical therapists complain about the patients they see who walk around with these things for hours. You know?
Yeah.
They were too big and bulky if you're strong at all or getting stronger, and they were too lightweight because all the weight had to go inside the body.
Yeah.
So you weren't really even getting a workout. What are you really doing?
Right.
And it was super insulting on many levels. The material choices were toxic, the colors they would use. So, when it came to inventing it, I was like, take all the weaknesses, just do what needs to be done right. And there you go.
Yeah. And I like the silicone aspect, and you've addressed that some of them have toxic substances, and some of the stone, stone things that are promoted, which I don't want to discount people's beliefs with regards to energetic purposes and stones, what have you. However, they are often porous and can actually contribute to infection. And so many physios I know see so many people coming in with infections and challenges as a result of using them again. So I love that it's silicone. It's very easy to use and very clean, very easy to clean. I think it's great.
Well, thank you. Because, there's so many choices now. When I started designing this, there were just a couple of Kegel weights on Amazon. One was like an Easter egg plastic with a fishing line cord. It is ridiculous. And now there's all of these, but they're like $20, and they're just poor materials, and it really worries me that people are using them. But I have no power. It looks like a good deal, and at least now people are aware to try something. I think we should be getting them to the next level of understanding of now let's do this right. Now that we got your attention, let's do this right.
Yeah, totally. And from a sexual health perspective, so some of them have, like the balls will have almost a ball within a ball. So there's a little bit of vibration that happens, which can be, some people use it for the purposes of it stimulates, it heightens your awareness. It might get you more aroused. There can be benefit with that movement. It's kind of like what yours does as well, that the variance in movement, which the muscles can respond to. I do like also some of them that vibrate. I think adding some vibration in there can be helpful as well. But one thing that I will say, and also that I like about yours and some of the other ones, but there needs to be a tail, or there needs to be something that you can remove it without having to bear down. The ones that have instructions that say to bear down to remove it are, I really think that can be quite damaging. So avoid the ones that don't have a string or a tail, and make sure you're not bearing down to remove it.
Thank you. Was there anything else that you saw out there that had promise?
There's a few. I mean, there's the ones that are also out there that I think can be valuable for people that are maybe not able to see a pelvic floor physical therapist, or the ones that have the technology that links up to their phone, which provides some visual feedback so that people can see when they're contracting and relaxing. And some people like the gamification aspect. Some people consider it kind of like their personal trainer. So it maybe is a bit more motivating for them. But it's about finding what works for you. So it still is an individualized approach. I also like, there's a couple of home use devices that are introducing vibration and light therapy and heat, which I think is also great from a tissue perspective. So recognizing that our collagen is decreasing and with vaginal atrophy and dryness, sometimes that can be a concern. So there is no yet ultimate, and I don't know if there ever will be, because I feel like I don't think we need to have this ultimate Kegel device. I think we can benefit from a few different things, and it's worth the investment. If you think about how much people spend on pads, investing in pelvic health from a physiotherapy perspective or from a device perspective is still, at the end of the day, so much cheaper, and there's so many other additional benefits.
Yes, I know which devices you're talking about, and I would tell people, and I've spoken to the people that work at those two companies, that Kegelbell is great for cross training with that. Like if you're using those devices, they could work together. You often have like more than one face cream. You have more than one article of clothing. You have more than one whatever.
Totally, we have more than one workout that we like. If we do yoga, we do Pilates, we do. Totally.
That's another example. So yeah, definitely cross training. And if someone says that they are looking for something else besides Kegelbell or what else they can do, I will recommend one of those two as another option, because in those two cases they're FDA registered, they're made of safe materials, and they're, so that's all to the good. Again, if something electronic or connected to your phone and the privacy issues and the complexities of that aren't a problem, I think they're really great tools to have in the repertoire. We do need a whole repertoire, and it's fascinating that they started on their journey at the same time, Kegelbell. And so when we started 4 or 5 years ago, it was just a wasteland in the world of pelvic floor health. You were there doing the early work. Thank you. I think you predate all of us. And it's a shame that the tool that you were selling, it could no longer be sold. And I still don't understand that. And I want to tackle that problem at some point in the future. But so there are a few options. There's a whole lot of bad ones, and hopefully people will spend a little bit more money to get the really high quality devices that'll keep them safe and actually work. So. Yeah.
And one more point that I would add is that I do recommend, if you are considering purchasing a device, and if you have access to see a pelvic floor physical therapist, I think it's worth seeing the physio first to understand what it is that your pelvic floor would benefit from, and if a device, and then which device would help with that training. So I think that's something, a valuable piece for people to consider as well.
Absolutely. That's why it was so important for us to be sold in America. I think it's also in Canada, not just in the United States of America. WebPT, which is a software platform that physical therapists use, they have a marketplace, and Kegelbell is sold there.
Cool.
Professional sale price, wholesale price to the physical therapist to pass on to their patients.
Perfect.
So definitely physical therapists, and we are developing a list of people with the pelvic floor specialty so that we can send people in the right direction. So definitely, and also in the direction of your material as well. Cool. So I think those are the big resources out there for training the pelvic floor. So thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.